Girls, boys, boys, girls, gentlemen, ladies, gentlemen, and all animals and pets. My name is Karma, and welcome to my channel. So, this new series is called the Yappuccino Cafe. This is where you come to the cafe, you eat, drink, do whatever you want, play video games, and you listen to me yap. I think that's a very good deal. So, today on the menu, I'm going to be talking about my life as a Muslim in the West and my life as a Muslim in the East. So let me get on with it so it's not too long. It's going to be long, but if you want to listen to all, or if you don't want to listen to all, you don't have to. It's not really mine. Let's begin with little Karma. So I started these Qaida lessons. I'm pretty sure this is an Urdu word, but let me know if I'm wrong. I think it's just an everything word. But basically, I learned the basics of, reading Arabic. So I learned little words and things like that. So I slayed there. I learned that. And then I learned a bit of Quran on the side, just, trying to get the hang of it, learning. Then I went to this Islamic school called Khidma Weekend School. And I'll explain how this works just for any non-Muslims who are watching, because it can be a little bit confusing when someone says, Islamic school, is Bible study, what is that? So let me just explain. This is the Holy Quran. This is the book that all of us Muslims, we like. Every answer is in here, even not for more non-Muslims. Non-Muslims, I recommend this book. Forget the fantasy, romance, whatever you were reading before. No, this is it. Any crisis you ever had in your life, this is the answer. Talking from personal experience, this is it. So, when you're a kid, when you're 4 years old to around maybe 11 or 12, you don't understand Islam fully, either at all or just not yet. So, what this company did first is they took the Quran, and they made 7 to 8 books. And in these 7 to 8 books, they teach you about Islam. Most of the topics are the same, but it's different intelligence level, if that makes sense. The year one book will have the same topics, like how to read namaz, how to pray, how to do this, how to do that, stories and stuff like that. But it'll be very simple. There'll be more drawings, and not of people, obviously, but if it's a story about a prophet, Prophet Yunus, maybe there'll be a story of a whale, if you get it. So that will be the case, and then everyone would study, right? So it was good. I learned my things, basics at least. So I learned very good. Now the experience side of things is when I got to my school play in secondary. Let me get comfortable. So in secondary school, we did High School Musical. And I was a very big actress, or I wanted to be an actress. I think that was my proper career path at one point. I was I want to be an actress. I want to be in movies and going to Oscars, red carpet, everything. But let me just give you, first of all, my portfolio on my acting career. First thing I ever did was probably the nativity play back in year 3 or something. Not even year 3, probably year 1. Then I was a teacher in year 5 or something. Then I was the mayor of some fictional land. The main character is called Stanley, superhero. He was a superhero called Stanley. And then this role that I'm about to tell you was in High School Musical. It wasn't a lead role. It was a side character. But the side character was still a character who actually had a solo singing part. I came and I sang my bit. But at one point in the rehearsals, my teacher told me, I don't even remember if she actually told me, but I think she just told everyone and then she just told me to do it. But she didn't tell me necessarily. This guy, but now in the middle of this play, I had to now wear a dress. And for some reason, she was absolutely adamant that I wear this dress. Not me personally, all of the girls. That we all wear this dress with no tights or leggings or anything underneath. Just bare, legs. So I knew my parents didn't like me doing this for some reason that I didn't know about. I was like, okay, there's a reason my parents don't want me to do this. But I was like, why though? So I told my teacher, I was like, Miss, I can't do this. So she was like, no, you have to do it. It's part of the role. I'm sorry, we can't help you. Can't help you. Oh, British teachers scare me, man. So I was like, okay, raw. So I have to do this then. So I knew if I told my parents, right, they would not be happy. They would say no. But at the same time, they wouldn't understand how much I wanted to, act at the same time. So I was like, what if I just don't tell them? What if I just don't tell them? That'd also work, right? So it worked temporarily. Like, I got on stage, they saw me, what were they going to do while I was on stage? Shout at me on stage. But yeah, they told me afterwards because I think they understood that, she really, like, they understood I wanted to do the role. And then they were like, oh, Ra, like, we don't want you to do that. Don't do that again. And they explained to me why they tell me, not to do that. It's because of modesty, Islamic wise, you shouldn't be doing that. As much as they could explain to a 12-year-old. But yeah, then I never did that again. The reason why I tell this story is because usually when I was in the environments that I was in, I was usually the only Muslim. And I wanted to fit in kind of back then. Like all of my friends are doing all these fun things, like, very young, but boyfriends and girlfriends and, and doing all kinds of, like, eating all kinds of things. They don't have to check on everything if it's halal. They don't have to check, because over here, even chocolate, you have to check if it's halal and stuff. So they used to be like, oh, why do you check chocolate? Like, you don't have to check chocolate. So yeah, it was very annoying back then. Why are you checking if sweets are halal? So yeah, I was a kid and most of my friends weren't Muslim. So yeah, it used to be, and especially there wasn't a lot of like communication as to why Muslims can't do something. So like when teachers sometimes used to just group Muslim kids together, and then when the Muslim kids used to say, we can't do that, they'd be like, nah, shut up. Essentially, I'm not even gonna lie to you. It's just like, oh, okay, shut up. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, they need to understand that, some families, they have morals and standards that they have within their communities and within their lives that, you should probably listen to. Like, damn. But okay, a few months after this, I went to Pakistan. Yay! And this experience was a little bit different. Let me tell you why. Although, by the way, I'm not saying that if you go to an Islamic country, no one's going to be like absolutely perfect. Don't expect that, if you go to like UAE, Pakistan, anywhere, that you'll find the most perfect Muslims. Like, you're going to find the absolute epitome of, like the walking Quran. Like, you're not going to find that. Everyone is human and everyone's on their own journey. But what my misunderstanding was that, everyone was Muslim, or maybe like the odd one or two people that weren't Muslim. And these guys were doing a lot of the same or similar activities as these guys are doing. So that put me in a bit of a confusing state. Because over here, I was like, my family have told me a certain set of morals and values. And I know these families haven't been told these same morals and values, but I know I have to uphold them. But over here, everyone has those same morals and values that I was raised with a kid, or at least most of them. Or to my knowledge, the people I've spoke to, they've been raised similarly, at least. And these guys are doing the same thing that these guys are doing. So I was very confused. I was like, rah, okay, does that mean it's okay for me to do these things? Like, is it calm? It's not that deep. So that's what I thought. That was my thought process, that, if these guys are doing it and these guys were all Muslim, then it should be okay for me to do it too, right? Like, it's not that deep. Like, when I first came to Pakistan, I was like, rah, what is going on? Then I was like, okay, if these guys are doing it, then it should be okay because they're Muslim and I'm also Muslim and these guys were raised similar to me. So it should be okay, right? And also, the environment in where I was and the environment you might be if you go to a Muslim country can definitely change how you see things. So like in my situation, I was in, alhamdulillah, one of the richer parts of Pakistan compared to the other parts. So the schools that were in these richer parts were very, 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 very odd, to put it the most polite way possible. It was odd. Basically, there was a lot of stuff that probably shouldn't have happened for a Islamic Republic school, like, girlfriends, boyfriends, drugs, alcohol, stuff like that. I'm not going to any specifics as to if I didn't see anything, but I'm not going into any specifics as to what I heard or mention anyone because that's just mean. But essentially, I was trying to avoid the other schools as much as possible because my school was good in the sense that it was small enough to not get involved with things like that, but it was also big enough to get involved with the minor sins, if that makes sense. So I tried to keep my distance as much as I really could, but you still slip up. I feel like in Pakistan, if you do decide that you want to stick to being Muslim, at least at the time. I'm speaking at the time. This is my experience. So this is maybe like 2020 to 2022, right? I feel like if you decided that, you're going to be on your deen, and I've seen girls at least who went on their deen during this time period, and I feel like a lot of people used to think they were like strict or they were doing too much. So I was like, raw, okay. So basically these guys are like, this is the norm for them now. This lifestyle that my friends are having back in England is their lifestyle too. So if you're like a Muslim, like a proper practicing, this is just odd. So I'm like, okay. I feel like when I was with my friends, I wasn't, but when I was at home, I tried to, read my prayers and, read whatever Quran I could and stuff like that. I felt guilty about everything. So, I know at least at that sense I was doing something was okay, something was good. I was a good check, I was at least feeling guilty. It was until I left from here and came back here for A levels. So I came back, and Islamically I was not in the best shape. I was in the had a few brawls back in the East. So I came back to the same school that I was in when I was a baby girl. So I'm back, right? And I'm in my school, and I'm seeing a bunch of hijabi girls and like people in abayas, people in niqab, face covering. I don't know if it's niqab, but face coverings, right? So I was like, whoa, okay. Wait, so I was starting to remember again, like, there were some practicing Muslims here, and like they didn't shame you for being practicing. It was actually encouraged. If you were lacking, they would, tell you. Maybe, probably not in the best way all the time, but they'll let you know that you were lacking sometimes, at least publicly if you were. I was like, bro, what am I doing then? Because these girls, they're Muslim and they've been raised with Muslim etiquettes. They're following Sunnah and they're following the Quran. So what am I doing? Why am I not doing this and they are? So I was like, okay, let me lock in real quick. It's like, okay, let me think. What's the first thing I need to do? Wear the hijab. This is the one priority I needed to do before I start anything else. I was very scared in the beginning. I was like, oh my God, because the fear that I had here was if you decide to do anything Islamic, you're doing too much. You're dragging it. Why? So I was like, I brought this mindset here. I was like, people are going to care too much. They're going to be like, why did you change it up? Like, why did you start wearing the scarf all of a sudden? You're trying to be a fake Muslim and that. So I was like, you know what? People can call me fake, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, look, I'm not fake, or at least I'm not trying to be. So, I tried to start my new journey. So I started wearing hijab in year 12, I think, very early year 12. So that's what I did. And my friends, they did actually, my non-Muslim friends had nothing bad to say. They were like, oh my God, you changed it up, but like, we're happy for you, So that was something I was really happy with. And then slowly, I started wearing abaya as well. So, because I started seeing everyone, I was like, let me lock in real quick. Like, let me just grow up a little bit. So I started wearing abaya. I started doing more things Islamically, tried to actually genuinely get closer to my religion, because I was starting to leave this stuff back here, because there was a lot of bad stuff that I collected here that I was bringing over here. So I was like, let me just get a fresh start. I'm making this place sound really bad, but it will make sense. So I'm locking in. And, I think I might have said this earlier, but in British schools, the kids are not very soft-hearted, if that makes sense, as well as their delivery with Islamic stuff. So you have to be careful with who you ask. I feel like some people, they are a bit aggressive with it, but this is not for every Muslim either in Britain. A lot of British Muslims are really, really nice. I've met the nicest people over here, but with my experience, I've met a couple of harsh worded advices, but it's okay. So I think because of a couple of harsh people, it's very hard to keep a soft heart over here. And that's where these guys can help me over here, because these guys were some of the nicest people I've ever met. I still have the friends I made here in Pakistan are still some of the bestest friends I have until this day. And even after these guys have been through they've gone through trials and tribulations, but they were still nice and kind and caring to people genuinely, because they cared about people as well. So I took this and took it here. So I was like, I want to try and be as nice as a person as I can be, even if maybe bad things are going on in my life or people have done me wrong. So let me try and still be nice, because there's not, there's bad people everywhere. Try and be a nice person. Like, what are you trying to be bad for? Like, what's the point? Now you're doing too much. So I started getting closer to my religion, and I was like, raw, okay, I like this. I like being close to God. I like, I like what is happening right now. Now I am here. Essentially, now I'm here. So I think the experience was different in the sense that, over here, it depends where you are. But from my experience, I feel like a lot of the time Islam isn't regarded as too serious because everyone has the same morals and ideas and the way they've been raised. So everyone's like, oh, it's calm. So then when they do sins, I think a lot of people who come, at least even if you live in Pakistan and you just join one of these schools, you might have like whiplash and you're like, oh, like I was raised, pray 5 times a day, but now these guys want to go out to the restaurant, but they're missing prayers. So this should be okay, right? Because they were raised with prayers too, probably, right? But no, that's not the case. First of all, you should always just try and pray. Even if they're going to the restaurant, just tell them to wait. It's not that deep. But either way, this was a very confusing part of my life, but it taught me a lot. I think if I didn't go through this, I would not have understood this. I feel like if I had not gone through this, being away from Islam, I wouldn't have realized what life would be like. I would have still had that immature mindset as when I was younger. I'd be like, okay, why do I have this? Why do I have these rules? Like, why am I even doing all this? What's the point? So when I got here, when I didn't have that, I was sad. I was very, very sad. So I was like, okay, no. When I came back, I was like, raw. No, I can see why I needed these rules. I can see why I needed to do this. I can see why this stuff was put in place. So I slowly started to understand. So the main advice, if I had to give any, would be try and pinpoint what your morals are and your boundaries, and try and stick to them, and definitely stick to them. So let's say the first thing should be the 5 prayers, right? So you got your 5 prayers. By no means necessary are they to be missed, or at least on purpose. If they're by accident, even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says if it's by accident, then just pray it back and you're good to go. But if it's on purpose, like you've gone out to, meet friends, or you've gone out to do something, or anything like that, you should not be doing that. Just have that boundary. Even if you live in the UK, I think in the UK a lot of people have experienced that, by having a lot of non-Muslim friends, they just start doing things and stuff like just to fit in with them, which I completely understand. That wasn't my experience, because my experience, like, even when I was with non-Muslim friends, I was still focusing on my own journey, and I think that was better because I didn't have judgment. Because I think when you're with my experience with like a group of Muslim girls, is that if I did something that was a little bit wrong, they would be like, they'd be very harsh. They'd be like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing this? So I used to feel very like, I don't want to hang around with these people, man. Like, they're just trying to judge me, everything I do. Like, I'm not perfect. So at least with my non-Muslim friends, not to say that I'm afraid of like constructive criticism or anything like that, but I feel like some people, they don't know how to voice that. So I was like, okay, if I tell my friends I don't want to listen to music around, oh, can you please not put music on around me? They're gonna listen because they're gonna understand. Okay, she has some boundaries that she's trying. Oh, she has a goal she's trying to achieve. So these guys will understand. Or if I slip up, they'll be like, they won't understand it fully as well. So they'll be like, okay, don't worry. Like, I know this is a mishap in what you were trying to do, but just get back up and you can do it. So I was like, raw, okay. So these guys who know nothing about the religion, inshallah, if they know little to nothing about the religion, but they are helping me more than I feel like a Muslim group would. So I definitely feel that it's not always to do with your environment, but it is a certain part to play. But just always try and focus on yourself. Try and always make sure that you have some time to yourself to think about what you're doing, kind of thing. That's what I learned. So instead of focusing on what your friends are doing, just focus on what you're doing and see where you can improve. Your competition with yourself. So yeah, like let's say a couple months ago, were you doing the same things you're doing now? Were you doing better or worse than maybe like a month or 2 ago? So you can look at, that's the metric I use, because like a day is just crazy. Like your days can fluctuate. So I'd say a month because it's more general. It gives you a bit of a better idea of like what you're trying to go for. Like, for example, if you're Muslim, right? And let's say last month you're listening to bare music, bare. And then like in everything, you're like working with music, sleeping before sleeping music, just everything music. But then this month, you're like, okay, so maybe you're walking to college, school, or anything like that with music. But you're working and maybe like rain sounds or just anything like that. That's better than it was last month. That's progress. Keep it going. So then you just slowly take that into account, and all efforts that you do for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you go walking, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes running. So just try your best to do whatever you can, and inshallah it should come to you the best. So that was my experience with both of these countries. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think. Thank you for this episode of Yappuccino Cafe. I hope you'd enjoyed your meal and drink. Bye.